Hi all. Get back with some more Emperor of the Sun. A playthrough against the Japanese Erasmus bot and us trying to play as the Allies. Or me trying to play as the Allies. Now, I don't know if you've noticed any changes there, but I've changed my phone again. I've got the iPhone back again. There's a couple of reasons. It was required. The other phone was required for use at the moment. But I did. What was before that became essential. I actually thought about going back to trying it. The biggest problem I had was the storage on it. I've not got much storage, so I had to watch how far I went with the videos. But I just need to keep an eye on it. I mean, to be honest, I was having the same issue with that other one, with the other phone because of that carry on with the size limit. The good thing about this is I can have it on the higher quality. Also, the other thing, look at the zoom in and out there. It's totally different. So it just shows you it's different on different phones. Whereas it was really vicious on the other phone. So I'm going to give this a try for a while, and maybe one day I'll get a good phone that can. Or I mean, I don't know if other people out there use specific other cameras if maybe don't use phones or whatever. But phone seems simple. You get it on the wee small tripod, and it just seems easy, and the quality seems good. So rather than a big bulky camera of sorts, I don't know. I'm not up to date in the technology with these sort of things. So maybe there is better options out there. But I'm not trying to put out professional video quality. Okay, so where were we? We were doing fine, I think. Yeah, with one last card for the Japanese, which is the War in Europe card, which, okay, I've got to try and remember. I don't know what that is. And it was Allied play. Oh, okay, that's a big glare. Where's that coming from? Is it that one or that one? It's that one. I could put it back the way. Is that better? Or when I come in? Okay. It's a bit of a weird angle. It's at now. Sorry, just try to move. Yeah, that actually kind of hides it, I think. Whether it still gives the light. Yeah, okay. Well, Grant. Right, so there's our three cards, and yeah, we're going to play the Edwin Booze card for the permanent amphibious shipping point. I think that makes sense, and we want to do it. Well, actually, I say we want to do it before the end of the turn. Is that essential? Because we gain one every turn. So we'll gain one up to 2, but I mean if we did play this next turn, that would put us up to 3. Yeah, I'm not so sure it matters. The fact that we're sitting with 3 cards left and he's only got 1, we're going to be able to just do what we want, really. And we've got this one pass, which I think we're just going to use just now. We might as well keep these two cards. It's probably one of them I want to put in the future offensive. So, however, I mean, the fact he's not going to have any cards in his hand. I mean, okay, I know what the card is in hand, but I shouldn't really. I mean, it could be a weather card. It could be some kind of special reaction card. So, the fact I've got a pass, I'm as well using it. So he's got to do something with that card, either play it or put it in the future offensives. And then we know there's no cards in hand, and we can not worry about what we're doing. But I mean, we could potentially use both of these military offensives and moves, get. I mean, that would be two legs, the naval movement, so 10 movement, 20 movement. We can move the naval units out of Pearl Harbor and really position them nicely, but I don't know if that's a waste or not. Well, you know what? We'll think about that when the time comes. I think what the best option is for us to use our last pass, so that's what we'll do, and pass it over to the Japanese for their last card play. Okay, so yeah, in this, well, I say it should be a quick episode, but I should never say that about my videos. Um, and it won't, because if I do start doing something with the naval units, the Allied naval units will be, we'll be at that for a while, no doubt. So we've got the War in Europe card. So let's just put it up a bit, get the angle better there. And it's a major Axis victory, it says. Decrease the War in Europe marker, number of space equal to the value associated with the year of the current game turn. So it's 1942. Okay, it is going to be 1942 for the next this turn and the next 2 turns after that. Yeah. So I suppose holding it back. I'm just thinking about, we can put him into level 2 here just now. Let's go and see where the Erasmus guides us to start with, I think. Just to see. I moved things a bit on the table here, I adjusted things a wee bit, and I'm not really sure if it's better or worse, to be honest. I feel like I'm stretching over here a bit now to look at this. Yeah, maybe I need to hang on. Okay, right. So are Allied HQs in the Philippines, DI, Moya out supply? Yes, they are. Are the DI's surrender objectives occupied? Well, again, this is not the case. So it's probably wanting to try and do more of that, isn't it? So that's no across to G. Is it game turn 3 or later? Sorry, further down there a bit. Is it game turn 3 or later? It is not. And then we go A plus C plus D. And then, like I say, we can skip by each one of them, because C asks if Japan has 3 or more cards. And that's how I did it. Yeah, we've only got 1 card. So each one of these goes down a big no line, and then ends up in M, which has the defence perimeter strategy objectives number 1 being achieved. Oh yeah, that's right. I remember now, because I was wondering we're going to come down here and then move on to the next one. But however, the DI, the defensive perimeter strategy objective number 1, which is their Australian mandates, has been achieved, hasn't it? Right, hang on, I've missed something here. Yeah, okay. There was a bit of messing about going. Yeah, okay. Yeah, there was a bit of a fumble there. Yeah, so it has, because we've got Guadalcanal and Rabaul, and they're the 2 parts of the Australian mandates. Yeah, it shows it there. That's Australian mandates there, which is Rabaul if Allied controlled. Well, it is not. We've got that in Guadalcanal, so that's good. So that is part 1. That is objective 1 of the defence perimeter being completed. So looking back into M and saying, so that's going to be a yes. So it is. Oh, sorry. I had a feeling I had it loose there, but I guess I've just been getting used to the other camera. I don't like switching things about. So this is a roll of a dice. Hi all. Right, I've had to add a little bit in between here. Because after, just look back on where it cut off. It's when I came to the decision. We're on the flow chart for the, and we were reaching the M, and then the answer was yes, the defence perimeter strategy has been achieved for number 1. We're up to roll a dice. I then proceeded to do my pause when I was recording and recording when I was paused situation. So there's 2 or 3 minutes nonsense that you don't want to see. So this bit from here was actually cut out until I get to the next Allied card play. Now where's yeah, it's a War in Europe card, isn't it? So I roll the dice. Now, obviously I've not got this recorded because I was paused at the time when I was doing it. So this is just through memory. And I've since recorded another episode, so this was a wee while ago. I roll the dice. I get a CBI strategy. That's what it is. And which is, what is it? Burma surrender, China surrender. I mean, for us to move into that just yet with the last card seems rather silly. So then, I go through some discussion about what it says in the rules regarding that, and this is when you're, 1d10 rolls and strategy selection. It's intentional that Erasmus can change strategies as each card is played in any given turn. However, if given the board state you determine that 1d10 roll resolves to an inferior strategy than what was selected previously among the random selection of options, then continue with the superior strategy for multiple cards till it plays out. Or if you prefer the random factor, add or subtract 2 from the die roll in the direction of the superior strategy. Well, again, it's one of these moments where I think it's you've to decide what's the best thing to do here. I think clearly the CBI strategy. Well, I say clearly. Some of you might look at this differently, but it seems to me quite clear that suddenly adjusting things to a CBI strategy at the moment is silly. Now, if we were going to the Central, these are the three options you got: Central Pacific, CBI, and event strategy. If we were to pick the Central Pacific strategy, that makes a bit more sense because we've been there. Where is it? There. We've been there already, haven't we? Because we've took Northwest New Guinea, which is down the bottom there, Sarong, Vogelkop and Biak. Well, we've already managed to take Vogelkop and Sarong. Biak's got the US Asia cruiser in that. So, that is feasible, I think, and that's certainly more a sensible route to take rather than the CBI strategy, clearly. However, but I mean, the card is, it's this card. We've talked about it, how strong it is. It's a major Axis victory, and then 1942 it moves the war in Europe down by 3, which is going to knock them into level 2. So I think it's probably a no-brainer. I'm pretty sure the rest of you would be doing this if you were playing as the Japanese. And I think it's not because of the way Erasmus is, and I understand it's got to be the way it's got to be, because it would be too difficult, I think, to create a complete AI system for this. I don't know, maybe, but there'd be much more to it. The game wasn't built for that. The game was clearly built for a 2-player game. And this is what I end up doing. I end up playing the War in Europe card for the event, and we knock War in Europe down into this. Well, it's at -3 here, which is level 2. So that's what I do, and that's the bit that was missing, I'm afraid. Not that you'll have seen it, but because I'll just add this in between, and then we just move on to the next Allied play. I think that's right. Because the Allies had passed again, hadn't they? And the Allies had 3 cards left in their hand. That's the Japanese played their last card, so now it's the last 3 cards of the Allies, and that's where I kick back in. And I may also make a comment saying, "Oh, did I have that on pause or did I have that on record?" when it comes back. Well, I clearly did. I thought I'd got away with it, but watching back I hadn't. So I'll cut that little chunk out and I'll insert this bit. And just while I'm there, just to throw something in that I noticed on the next episode, the next part, which is part 12, I think. I go into the end of the day, and do reinforcements and replacements, and I've just noticed I've replaced units that are unreplaceable, if you like. The ones with the yellow dot, I'm forgetting all about them. I know when they die they can't come back, I know we can't bring them back with replacements, but for some reason I skipped over the part that they clearly can't receive replacements if they're reduced, you know. So I think there's 2 or 3 that I actually put back to full. So I'll need to go and edit that a bit, but I will at the start. Hopefully I'll add a bit in the header of the video in case you don't watch this video and you watch the next one. You say, oh, you can't replace these units, but I just noticed it when watching back. That's why I like to watch them back, just in case. Okay, right. I'll let it go back on now to the last 3 allied card plays. Okay, cheers. Oh, did I have that on record? Maybe, right, I might have to cut that bit out then. It's one of my moments where I've thought I've paused things. Or maybe not, maybe it wasn't. Well, we'll see when I look back. Right, there's the 3 allied cards, so like I say, I think we want to play this. I don't know if it's important. How important is it to have a card for the future offensive queue? This is another thing, I suppose, that becomes more, you know more about once you've played the game a couple of times. You probably need to have probably played it properly against somebody. And 7.29, once per game turn, each player may designate 1 strategy card to be held over for a future game turn to conduct an offensive event or a reaction. Player may never have more than 1 card designated the future offensive. Player cannot designate a card a future offensive card if one is currently designated. To designate a future offensive card, the player has a player strategy card, takes a card, places it face down the map, and places the future offensives marker on top of the card to indicate its status. This is that player's action and play alternates to the other player. So, and then it's got A and B here. So A, future offensive card play to win initiative. If at the start of the offensive phase, a player has fewer cards than the opposing player, that player can win the initiative and go first by playing the future offensive card as the first card. In this case, the future offensive card must be played as an EC offensive. Oh. Right. Oh, okay, well, here was me thinking, well, I can keep this to but if I'm winning the initiative by just playing a card, well, I obviously can't play that. I would need to play one of these if I was going to do it to win the initiative. I don't know. See, if I thought I was getting the Southwest Pacific headquarters, because this is the one that gets a 6 logistics value in the Southwest, but he's still going to be on the map. And, well, actually, here's the other thing. You could use a card to, put him on the turn track, couldn't you? And then, so I could use, let's just say I use this card to put the Southwest Pacific onto the turn, right, to retreat it, or whatever it is you do with it. Then put this in the future offensive queue. Then next turn, it's going to come back as a reinforcement. Then we can play this, and wherever it's going to be down in Australia, I think. I was looking back on some of the videos, and I think it was more popular to have it here. Was it here, I think? Well, it's got to be a port, isn't it? Yeah, so it must have been here. Well, I suppose it could be Townsville as well. I think it was in Cairns that looked like the popular choice, whereas I had said probably up here, but maybe there's a range, because it's got quite a good range, isn't it? 20, yeah. So, yeah, I mean, there's a thought. Well, hang on, let's look at part B of the future offensive card. During the offensive phase, a strategy card cannot be played as a future offensive in the same game turn in which it was designated as a future offensive card, nor as the last card play by the owning player during an offensive phase. Okay. Just as well I read that then. So you can't keep it to the last card, either as an offensive or a reaction. Other than this restriction, a future offensive card may be played any time a player could normally play a strategy card. A future offensive card cannot be discarded to fulfill an event discard requirement. And then it finishes with a player may keep the same future offensive card for multiple turns. The only drawback of doing this is that another card cannot be designated as a future offensive card as long as the current future offensive designated card has not been used. And then it says any card except the restricted cards can be used as a future offensive. Okay, so it's not that well. I can see there being a benefit if I was wanting to go first and do something kind of aggressive, but I think we're too early for any of that nonsense, really. So yeah, I'm just starting to wonder if the retreating in that HQ though, that has got me thinking. I mean, maybe that's a waste of a card. I don't know. Okay, so yeah, I mean, I could use a card to withdraw the HQ, and then next turn, the HQ will be it'll come back, and I could put it in Australia, which I'm going to do with that HQ. It's going to be in Australia anyway. Well, I think that's if you have an early HQ return, it has to go in at specific places. Whereas if it's a normal play as a reinforcement, which is what I would be doing, it could go in any port, I think. But I think it makes sense having that one. So obviously I think historically that's where he went, wasn't it? It was across to Australia somewhere. Whether it was Cairns or not, I don't know. But I can see the point in Cairns because I'm just looking here. And then at first I thought, even if I've got 10, even if I've got 15 movement, I don't think I can reach here. 1, 2, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. See, you're 1 height short. I'm like, well, I can't make that then. I mean, I've only got 10, but I was forgetting you've got, is it strategic movement you've got? And that doubles your movement as long as you're going from port to port. Is that right? Strategic naval movement 8.23. An offensive naval unit only may move twice the movement point value allowed by an offensive if it moves from a friendly port to another friendly port. And it cannot enter an unneutralised opposing air zone of influence, but we're not having that. So there's 3, they're maybe not all carriers, I think there's 2 carriers and a cruiser or something. One of them's reduced. But I could get them here. You could actually get them to Vitae, but I think Funafuti, that's a cool name, probably not pronounced that way though, Grant. Funafuti. So that would be a good place to go. And then, of course, I looked, right, if we had naval units there, and if we put MacArthur's Southwest Pacific HQ, well, to be honest, there, or, oh no, I can't put it there. There, and I think that's the reason why, because my guess might be that Darwin is just too far to stretch that, whereas Cairns is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 15. Well, I'm going to the wrong one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 to get to Funafuti. So that would be nicely set up for, an activation on the carrier units. Mind you, I'm forgetting that the Pearl Harbor HQ would be able to activate them as well. It's even got a longer range, isn't it? 25, I think. Yeah, okay, so there's not a real... But, however, it's getting them down to a place... I mean, this is where I think I wanted to do, but I'm now swithering about using the card. And if I do use the card to withdraw the HQ, then I think it probably makes more sense to put this in the future offensives queue so that I can use it for its logistics value of 6 next turn. I mean, this looks like a pretty good card, but again, this is something we're not ready to do, really. It's the Merrill's Marauders bonus that you're getting. You get a 2 die roll to each allied ground combat initiated by the offensive. But I mean, it's SEAC that can. It's only SEAC that can use it, which is that's obviously up in the CBI. And if we had maybe got the defence set up, we might have been in a position. I don't think so. So I think if we were wanting to use this for the, and the other thing about that is this will just get discarded. I won't be using it as the event. Although I'm not sure if the cards. Well, that's us seeing a shuffle of the deck coming up, right enough, with that Manchuria card for the Japanese. So, oh, it's not for the Japanese. That's for us, isn't it? Oh, that's interesting then. So if I did use this card now, it's going to get shuffled in. Oh, okay. That does mean that I'm not going to get the carriers moved down this turn though, because I'm going to have to use this to withdraw the HQ, going to put this in the future offensive queue, going to play this for its event. And that's me. Yeah. I think it is actually better to try and get the Southwest Pacific out of there, because I'm just looking at the charts here, and I suppose maybe that's a little bit cheeky looking to see what the AI might do, the Erasmus might do, but I'm just trying to see where it prioritises. Although it prioritises neutralising the Philippines HQ as number one HQ to neutralise, when it comes down to actually getting Philippines surrender, it actually wants DEI surrender and Malaya surrender before it reaches Philippines surrender. Just how I'm looking at it there. So that means it's kind of not really caring, and that Southwest Pacific HQ could sit there all next turn, possibly, and we still can't get access to it. I think I'm going to do this. You know what? I don't really, you know that I'm not knowing all the strategies and up to things, but so I'm going to, right, where was that bit? Just to make sure, right, this is voluntary HQ withdrawal repositioning, 6.13. It says HQs cannot move per se, but they can be voluntarily withdrawn from the map as the complete play for any OC. Nothing can stop the voluntary withdrawal of an HQ, and the HQ does not need to be in supply, which is just as well, because it's not. The withdrawn HQ is placed in the game turn record track for re-entry in the next game turn. An HQ on the game turn record track returns to play during the reinforcement phase of the next game turn as a normal reinforcement and cannot be delayed. So I'm going to do this. Yes, I could use this one OC card to do this, but I think you're shaking your head at that one, because I think that for later in the game, having the extra amphibious shipping point, even more so maybe that we've got, because I've moved our war in Europe down quite a bit there. So I'm going to use this card as an OC, so it won't get removed from play, to withdraw Southwest Pacific. So this will just get discarded. And like I've said, we're going to get a shuffle at the end of turn here because of that Manchuria card. So, there's a lot of cards admittedly in the deck, but it does mean there is a chance we might see that card again, and it might be in a better time when we've got, the CBI more ready for having a bit of a fight back, Okay, so MacArthur's leaving. He's bailing out. Yeah, that's what happened, didn't it? Something like that. Okay, so it goes in the turn trap for the next turn. Turn 3. So yeah. And that's pretty much it, really. So yeah, this probably will be a quick end then, because we are as well. Unless we use this to move some naval units from Pearl Harbor, it just feels like knowing this is in the future offensive queue, And in fact, we could have the initiative next turn and do this right away. But, nah, that's not going to be any good, is it? Because we really need, the Pearl Harbor's out of range from here. So I'm only going to be able to activate the Australian stuff. So I really need to hang on to that until we maybe find another military event. Hopefully one with a 3 that can maybe we can get all the way down to Espiritu Santo, is it? Espiritu Santo. You know, and then they did take Guadalcanal, so I don't know, but then we've got a bit of threat. They've only got this guy and one cruiser. Okay, it's pretty strong. 12, 10, but however. So I'm going to put this card in the future offensives queue. And just put the wee marker on it. Well, you know what, it's meant to be turned. You're meant to turn it upside down, but I don't think that's necessary, so I'll just tuck it out there out the way. And then, obviously the Japanese have no cards left, so we're just having 3 turns to ourselves. And then I'm going to play this for the event. So Edwin Boo's defence consultant. US consultant is employed by Secretary Knox to reorganise the Department of the Navy for war, resulting in improved operational and production efficiency. Ally player immediately receives 1 permanent amphibious shipping point, and then we remove this from play if we use it for the event. So yes, we're going to do that because that does feel quite strong. And I probably wouldn't have thought it was that strong, but that was part of the cards that were in the example of play when we done it, and it then clicked that it was going to give us much more in the future. So that's us up to 2. And of course, again, like I say, they've knocked the war in Europe chat down a bit, so even more reason to get it up to 2, and then it'll go up to 3 next turn, the beginning of the turn, I think. So good. Okay. So and then that event gets removed from the game, and that's all the cards. So that didn't take long, did it? Yeah, indeed. Right. So I've no idea what happens now. So let's go and have a look. Okay, yeah, so the offensive phase ends when all players have played all strategy cards in their hands for the turn. So then we move on to the political phase. So this is 4.3. 4.31, national status segment. Any countries that fulfill the surrender criteria surrender according to rules in 13.0. I don't think there's any of these. Oh, hang on, is this just... This says countries there, doesn't it? So, yeah, so Philippines, yeah, it's got the chart there, tells you in the back of this chart, one of the player aids. The Philippines, we would need to have Manila and Davao. Well, the Japanese have Davao, but we've still got control of Manila, albeit, rather hopeless. But, and then you've got Malaya and Siam. Malaya needs Singapore and Kuantan taken, which is not. Siam. Where's Siam? This says Siam has no forces and does not surrender. Is treated as individual hexes. Right, I'm not quite sure I understand that. Then Dutch East Indies. Well, we need Jap and the 7 resource hexes. They don't have that. Burma, they're nowhere near into Burma, and India, and China does it differently with that. It's got a, what am I trying to say? Status bar thing. Can't work out the word there. It's a way up the top. It goes up either up or down. Okay, so I don't think there's any of that happening. So then we've got US political will segment. Adjust the US political will track for any conditions noted in Rule 16.4. Alright, okay. Allied surrenders. Oh, there's Australia as well. How did I not see Australia within that one? China. Australia surrender? I don't see it in... Oh, actually, yeah. It is further on. Australia. And then, well, to be honest, you've got Japan as well within the... so what was a 16 point... What was I trying to find there? 16.4. So if there's any surrender, like for instance, if Australia did surrender, we would reduce US political will by 2. So then you've got Burma, China, Dutch East Indies, India, Malaya, Philippines. So eventually they will go and our political will drop. And that's a way, that's, well, whether it's the main way for the Japanese to win the game. If this gets down to 0, then the Allies lose the game. So, yeah, so there's no... Yeah, there's a couple other conditions here. Alaska, occupation of Alaska or Hawaii. Alaska is considered occupied if a Japanese unit has continuously occupied any single hex in Aleutian Islands. Hex is 4600 to 5100. That's the ones that way up the top, isn't it? Way up the top. Yeah. And I know you can just see them in my shadow, but I think that's them up there. So it says at the end of any third consecutive US political will segment, reduce US political will by 1. It can only be earned 1 time per game. And then Hawaii is considered occupied if Japanese units continue occupied any hex in the major Hawaiian Islands at the end of a second consecutive US political will. So, yeah, I mean, none of these have happened. They look quite hard to achieve. Well, the one at Alaska, I did see strategy, and it was one of the games I think Mark Herman was playing where he made a move up there to take that. It looked quite clever the way he'd done it. I can't remember what it was, and it made sense. And then you've got strategic warfare. If the Japanese control 3 or less resource hexes during any game turn between turn 5 and 12, you would increase US political will by 3. It can only occur once per game. Well, we're not in turns 5 and between 5 and 12. And then you've got strategic bombing roll results, certain events. Well, we've seen... well, that's political will, It was war in Europe. Yeah, there's another one as well. There's another something about... Well, it's got US casualties here. If as a result of a combat with the Allies or the offensive player, the entire attacking force in a ground battle is eliminated, and at least one of the ground units was a US land unit of division or corps size that can receive replacements, the Allied player automatically loses 1 political will point. Right, I think just as well I'm reading that because I didn't have a clue about that one. And it's only US units, and obviously they need to be either, it's got in bracket the 2X or the 3X, which is a division or a corps. And then strategic naval situation. Yeah, this is the one I did remember about, or remember hearing about. If at the end of any game turn there are no US carrier units on the map, the Allied player loses 1 US political will point, moving the marker 1 box to the left. The Allied player loses an additional US political will point if there are no US naval units of any type on the map. So you've got to watch for your carriers getting destroyed, and, well, even more so, all your naval units getting destroyed. So, or your political will drop, and that's you heading towards the end of the game. Okay, but nothing. I don't suppose you expect nothing in that within the first or maybe a surrender. Is it not? In fact, the playthrough the example of play, it has a really good hand, and do they not take the Philippines? I don't know. Well, remember they've got the Solomon Islands. Does that not count then? Right, hang on. Yeah, so that's the Australian mandates. Just looking at the surrender part again, so we're up 13.8 is talking about Australia, and 13.84 mandate control. Whoever controls Rabaul and Guadalcanal during national status segment. Is that where we're at? Where was that little playthrough thing? National status segment. Yeah, that's what we're doing just now. Yeah. So whoever controls them gains control of all mandate hexes that are not occupied by opposing ground units. Any opposing air and naval units in the hexes that change control must immediately use emergency air naval emergency movement to exit. It takes the control of both hexes during a national status segment to change control back, recapturing one of the hexes is insufficient. Okay, so just to check, I think it's got a list of the hexes there, so that is going to happen. It doesn't give them anything, well, it doesn't give them any, it doesn't affect my political will or anything, this one, but at least I don't think it did. Yeah, where are we now? National surrender. Where was the bit that I seen telling us about that? 13.0. Yeah, there was a bit that was telling you about their political will dropping. I can't find that now. I'm missing something here. Give me a sec. Yeah, sorry, it was the US political will that was getting, and that's if Allied surrender. But it's only Australia, Burma, China, Dutch East Indies, India, Malaya, and Philippines that would adjust it for the surrender. So just having the Solomon Islands and the mandates, that's not going to affect political will. So yeah, we should get a bunch of control markers, I guess, because there's quite a few of them. So the mandates 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There's 10 hexes, although that's 2 of them, so there's 8 more. So I'll just pause the camera and cover them up. Okay, there we go. Yeah, that's quite a lot there, isn't it? So the good thing, they're not occupied. Once we can start getting moving, it gives. In fact, in some ways, is that not a good thing? Because I know you've got to start with this progress of war. I mean, we're still a couple of turns away. I think it doesn't kick in until turn 4, I think. Where you've got to take. It's either how many ESPs you've got, or 4, whatever's the lower of the 2. So trying to take 4, you've got to do that every turn. Take 4 destinations. They're no countries, are they? So you would have to take 4 of these Japanese controlled hexes back every turn. Or I want to say maybe a political will, you lose political will as well, or something like that. Right, okay, so that was all there. There's nothing else that's going to surrender. Like I say, they've not done New Guinea. No, there's still plenty of stuff in New Guinea, isn't there? Yeah. Biak, Kalandia, we've not got Hollandia. We've got a couple of them, but anyway. Okay, so what we got now? Attrition phase, right. So all ground and air units determine their supply state, 6.2. If they are out of supply, they are flipped from their full strength to the reduced strength side. Air and ground units already on the reduced side may be eliminated. Naval units are unaffected. Why did I think they weren't going to get eliminated? Well, it does say may be eliminated. It doesn't elaborate on that. Maybe there's a section of attrition. Attrition phase 4.4, 6.24. It's maybe further on, 6.24. During the attrition segment, perform the following steps in order for both sides, air and ground units simultaneously. HQs and naval units are not affected by attrition. Eliminate all reduced or single step air or ground units that are unsupplied, are not in a hex affected by an emergency supply route, and are out of range of any friendly supplied or unsupplied HQ. For this check, enemy units opposing ZOI and unplayable hexes do not block the path between the HQ and the unit. Ooh, am I right in saying that maybe we could have had this guy... Well, mind you, yeah. See, this is a one-step unit though, and he would have been... Although he's still not within range of Abda. I think he is. He is actually. He's still in range of Abda. And it doesn't need to, the HQ doesn't need to be in supply, so I don't think we eliminate the last step of that. Whereas this, we would reduce it to its last step, I think. That is my thinking of it. Right, give me a sec. I'm a bit worried that I'm using too much of the space here, so I'm just going to pause a second before we start this attrition part, and free up some space on the camera, okay? Right. I'll be back shortly. Cheers. Hello, right, I was awful lot of messing about there trying to get that copied across. And I viewed back the footage and was comparing it with the one from the previous cat. This, it was far darker. And that's now, I've made an adjustment, so we'll see if that's improved a bit. It looked awful kind of dark, so hopefully it's not that bad that it's unwatchable. I also noticed the sound doesn't come across as well. Now there's different microphones you can use, so I could mess about with that and maybe try it, but anyway, let's just get this episode finished and this turn done. So we're just finishing attrition, so 6.24 attrition. During the attrition segment, perform the following steps in order for both sides, air and ground units simultaneously. HQs and naval units are not affected by attrition. So eliminate all reduced or single step air or ground units that are unsupplied, are not in a hex affected by emergency supply route, which is 6.23. I think that's the Tokyo Express thing and the hump thing, yeah. So that's not really relevant, and are out of range of any friendly supplied or unsupplied HQ. For this check, enemy units opposing ZOI and unplayable hex size do not block the path between the HQ and the unit. And then step 2 of this is flip all full strength air and ground units that are both unsupplied and are not in a hex affected by emergency supply route to the reduced side. So the full strength ones get flipped no matter what. The reduced or single step ones only get eliminated unless they can, well, they've got emergency supply route, or they can trace a range to an HQ, no matter if it's in supply or not. Attrition is calculated and applied simultaneously, so it is possible that opposing units can mutually attrit each other. Note that units with only one side, e.g. Dutch regiments, are considered to be on the reduced side. Right, okay, so that's that. So I know from watching previous stuff that the situation down in Australia is kind of grim, and that's a bit worse. Right, okay. So yeah, these guys aren't actually in supply. There's not an I think it when's the what is it, Anzac, isn't it? It comes out down here. Is that, or is that no in, or is that a special event maybe? No, it's not. It's maybe just not. Maybe it comes in. I've got all my stuff in the way. No, I don't see it there. Oh, there it's there. Oh yeah. Oh, I think I'm looking at the wrong bit. Yeah, it comes in on turn 3. So that'll be the next turn that'll come in and go on the. So we'll see it on turn 4, and I think it's one that can help out here as well. So yeah, I mean these Australian units, air and ground, cannot trace supply. They've not got an HQ. I mean ABDA is probably out of range anyway, but ABDA's not in supply itself, and these are full strength units, and it's too far to go up to. Well, actually, I don't think the one in Pearl Harbor can't supply the US Australian units, can it? So this is going to attrit, and so is this. Yeah, okay. I was looking at these can be repaired though. However, this one here, let's double check that. I don't think that can. No, the US ones cannot do Commonwealth units, can they? Hang on. Yeah, so even if there was range to get to the Pearl Harbor, that HQ can't supply this unit anyway. So unfortunately he's out of supply, so he's going to attrit as well, and this is one unit that can't be replaced. So not so good there, and yeah, this guy's obviously the same. Now, if ABDA was still able to trace supply, this guy would be okay, but that's not the case. So he's going to attrit as well. Now, this is where the single step Dutch units, they are out of supply as well. However, they can trace, there is a range, and remember it ignores everything, it just counts hexes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So all these are within range of ABDA, and even though it's out of supply, these are only one-step units, so they won't be eliminated. The same will go for the air unit here, which is reduced. Now, these units here, well, this guy's the same as long as he can. ABDA can control anything anyway, can't it? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yeah. So this guy's okay. This guy's a single step, so he's okay. This guy, however, cannot trace supply, and he's a double step, so he's going to flip. He's going to be reduced. Again, these Dutch units are okay. And we look at the Malayan Australian unit here. Well, that's going to be in trouble as well, isn't it? Yeah, it can't trace supply as well, so that's not repairable as well. So it flips, and the Indian unit, yeah, it'll be the same. Can't trace supply, so yeah, it flips as well. I don't think there's an awful lot you could really have, that we could have done about that, you know. Yeah, and then so moving further up, that looks a bit brighter now, but yeah, I think that looks better. Wonder if it's too bright. I did make an adjustment. I don't know if I've nudged something off the default or not, because I didn't do anything. So hopefully it's still bearable to watch, because I don't want to go through it all again. It looked rather dark, so yeah, so these guys up here now, yeah, they can trace supply out the water and then away. Yeah, because there's no air zone of influence around them. And the Chinese units are fine, yeah, because they've got a supply source themselves from there, haven't they? Kumang. That's right. Yeah, everything else is okay. I'm just wondering about this guy. I mean, how do I... Because if it's a land trace, it's got to be within 4... Well, hold on, no. This is a... what is it? Supply port anyway, so it can go there. It needs to trace out this way. See, it can't trace out that way, but there's no air unit in here. That's the thing, we moved that air unit down, didn't we? Where it was here. And that would have stopped all that tracing out of there, wouldn't it? Because it would have put a... Oh no, we would have cancelled that out, yeah. That's right. Because we've still got that AVG. We've still got him there. And yeah, they can trace across the water, and this guy can do the same. Yeah, I might just need to refresh myself with how that works, but I'm pretty sure they're okay. But I might just, like I say, need to refresh how that works again. I know it can get tricky up here to trace supply. There's quite a few bits that because it was because of the new rules that they brought in with the second edition. I think it was quite a big change to the rules where it wasn't a case of just being able to trace supply from the range of the HQ. You had to actually be able to get to the HQ within 4 movement points, or get to a supply eligible port, that's it, within 4 movement points. Which Rangoon is, and again, this is an important factor about how Rangoon's, sought after by both parties, really. Okay, so I think that's them all. Now, I don't think the Japanese are going to have any issues. Yeah, because these guys... This supply... Well, actually, he's on the Kwai Bridge there, so that's not... I actually think that's 2 movement into here, but then 2.5, 3. So he's within 4 movement of South HQ. So he's okay. So again, when he moves further, if he moves up 1 more, I think he then struggles to trace supply. Well, we'll find that out. And obviously these guys are just beside the HQ. And this HQ is clearly in supply. I'll back up a little bit there. Yeah. Yeah, there's not any issues. This air unit, I mean, there's nothing stopping it from tracing supply. There's not any allied air zones of influence, and yeah. Okay, I think that's everything. Going by my looking at it, but so where are we now? That was attrition phase, wasn't it? So attrition phase, and then the end of turn phase. So it says, if the US political world marker is in the zero negotiations box during this phase, the Japanese player wins a game. If the conditions for automatic Allied victory have occurred, the Allied player wins the game. If it's the last turn of the game, determine the winner as per the campaign or scenario victory conditions for the game that was played. None of these conditions are true. Advance a game turn marker and conduct a new game turn. Flip or remove various game markers as indicated by the rules, e.g. China offensive conducted to its other side, or remove Tokyo Express markers. Okay, so we've finally got to the end of a turn, so we're going to move this on to here. Just put that there because that's the Southwest Pacific HQ. We're going to get back, and then we've got these delayed guys. I'm assuming they become reinforcements now. I think that's how it works, because I was hoping I would get them on turn 3, and there's a big chunk of them. Look, so yeah, and then the reinforcements for turn 3 will either be delayed or some of them might go to fight in Europe. Okay, right, I'm going to wrap this up, and I'll just put that out as the last part, and yeah, we'll get back with a new hand of cards. Yeah, I'm quite enjoying it. I can see things getting trickier, definitely. Once the Allies start getting some zones of influence themselves, I can see it's going to be a bit of a headache trying to work things out, but yeah, but it's good. I'm kind of enjoying it. Hopefully I can stick at it. Well, to be honest, I've got at least through this turn anyway. Not many people tell me where I'm going wrong though, or saying anything much. So makes me wonder. But maybe, I do have to take on board that I guess my videos are for a selected few, maybe. Whether you want to watch this slow process of me scratching my head through hours of video footage, but I guess I wouldn't mind so much if I knew the game well that I wasn't getting comments, because I would just sort of say, well, I know what I'm doing, but I don't really know what I'm doing here, so comments would be good if they were telling me one thing or another. Okay, I'll get away for now, and I'll be back with the start of game turn 3. Okay, cheers.